ENTO Entomology 322 debate.
Howdy, my name is Paul McMurray and I am defending Tabanus atratus, or the black horsefly.
Howdy, my name is Ty Malachek. The scientific name of my insect is Chrysops discalicis. My insect's common name is the deerfly. Today we are arguing which one of the two are the worst biting pests.
Opening statement for the case of the black horsefly. The black horsefly is one of the true flies, that is the pterans, and falls into the family Tabanidae, deers and horseflies. As with all dipterans, the black horsefly is a holometabolous insect and thus undergoes complete metamorphosis. This is characterized by life stages wherein the insect undergoes complete transformation in terms of morphology, emerging from an egg as a larvae, or maggots in the case of flies, transitioning into a silk cocoon, that is the pupae, and emerging as a winged adult. The black horsefly is a fly of the genus Tabanus, the horseflies, and is infamous for its painful bite. The female adult fly's mouthparts differ from the males in that the female requires a blood meal to produce viable eggs, making them anatogenous. The female will take blood meals through a biting mechanism that is often reported to be extremely painful. The painful bite is a result of morphological adaptations to the stylets of the female adult fly's mouthparts. The stylets are long and sclerotized, which result in sharp appendages that pierce the host skin, allowing the female to sponge up the pooling blood. The black horsefly gets its name from its characteristically black coloration. The horseflies and the deerflies both mechanically transmit bacterial pathogens such as anthrax and in certain case studies, the bacteria that causes Lyme disease, and thus are a terrible biting pest that impact human society.
My opening statement. Deerflies belong to the family Tabanidae. Adults range in size from about 1/4 of an inch to 1/3 of an inch long. Their wings are clear with dark bands or patches, and their bodies are gray or light brown with some yellow and black striping. Deerfly larvae develop in the mud and aquatic muck. That occurs along the edges of bodies of water, such as ponds. Female flies lay batches of 100 to 800 eggs on vegetation that stands over water. Larvae hatch and fall below where they feed on decaying matter or small organisms in the environment. Deerflies generally have a one-year life cycle. Female deerflies are persistent blood feeders, while the males feed on pollen and nectar from plants. The female deerfly bite involves two pair of mouthpart blades that the fly uses to cut the skin. Females use knife-like mandibles and maxillae to make cross-shaped incisions and then lap up the blood. Their bites can be painful, but many bites are not noticed at the time, especially if the victim is distracted. Deerflies feed on a variety of mammals, including humans, pets, livestock, and deer. Deerfly females will continue to return to a host and bite repeatedly if their feeding behavior is interrupted for some reason. For this reason, deerflies tend to be more of a nuisance to society than anything. They're irritating and bothering, and other than having a bite that hurts, of little threat to society. The deerfly is similar in size and appearance to the common housefly, but the distinguishing characteristic of a deerfly is large patterned gold or green eyes, and their antennas are usually longer than their head.
So, given the above information, a lot of the same principles that apply to the deerfly also apply to the horsefly. For all intents and purposes, the horsefly feeds on the same host as the deerfly does. In fact, a lot of the horsefly's hosts are bovine and equine mammals, and thus they are virtually the same hosts. they both bite humans. And so my question for you, Lewis, is what specific type of host does the deer fly like to bite, and where does it like to bite? Like, where on the host does it like to bite?
In response to you, Paul, the deer fly prefers to attack a moving host, which is probably why it continues to return to the same host if feeding is interrupted. This is also why the deer fly is so bothersome, because it keeps returning to the same host. Furthermore, deer flies target high on the host's body, such as the head or neck. You can prevent them from biting you by staying away from blue colors. Some people have found that while working out in the yard, if they put a feather or a fern type of plant in your hat, it will distract the flies. While you might look funny, this is something that allows you to work and hike in peace. Here is my question for you, Paul. How do you prevent horseflies from biting you?
It's a bit of a three-dimensional question. So when you ask how do you prevent an insect from biting someone, you're asking about two different mechanisms. The first mechanism is eliminating the insect altogether, because if the insect is dead, it can't bite people. So the traditional method of removing tabanids is through larvicides, and that has routinely proven to not work. The problem is the tabanids lay their eggs on aquatic and semi-aquatic substrates, and so the insecticides naturally drain into aquatic reservoirs, which pollute, sources of water. Now, in the case of the other mechanism through which you can prevent insect bites is by making the host's skin unattractive to attachment. And with the insect repellents we have, deer flies and horse flies both have been shown to bite in spite of these repellents. So the only way you can really stop them from biting is by trapping them, which is more or less a combination of the two. Deer flies and horse flies, in your case with deer flies, you mentioned how they are unusually attracted to the color blue. Both tabanids, for some reason, are attracted to the color blue, and scientists have laid out harp traps that are colored blue, which are canvases that are colored blue, that attract the fly and more or less capture them. And they also use malaise traps. And so, to answer your question, you would use traps to stop tabanids from biting people, namely the horsefly. My question for you is, for all intents and purposes, our flies are virtually the same, save for their preferences. The deer fly prefers moving hosts, while the horsefly prefers stationary hosts. So my question to you is, what sets the deer fly apart from the horsefly, or at least in my case, the black horsefly, as far as being a worse biting pest?
Paul, in response to you, the deer fly vectors more diseases. There is evidence that deer flies in the western U.S. are involved in the transmission of tularemia, which is also known as deer fly fever or rabbit fever. Deer flies are minor vectors of tularemia. In equatorial African rainforests, a filarial parasite that causes liausis is transmitted by deer flies that inhibit those areas. Repellents and chemical insecticides do very little to deter biting deer flies and hurt the environment and surrounding habitats. Now, going into closing arguments, Paul will give you his closing arguments first, I believe. Yes.
So, given the points above, it's clear that the deer fly vectors more pathogens. However, both deer flies and horse flies both vector mechanically transmit bacteria that can be potentially lethal, such as anthrax and the bacteria that causes Lyme disease. The advantage, or more or less the disadvantage to humans, but the advantage that Tabanus atratus has over Chrysopsis gallus is that Tabanids in general are larger in number and are more in contact with humans than deer flies, and as such have more potential to bite.
My closing argument: I think the deer fly definitely has the worst bite. The females use knife-like blades to make a cut on your skin to get to your blood. Ouch. Not only does it hurt, but they go for moving targets, which are harder to get land on. Furthermore, they aim for the places located high on the host, such as the neck and head. Being bitten on the neck or head is way worse than being bitten on the leg. Furthermore, swatting it away with your hand will only agitate deer flies and make them return over and over again. You can distract them by not wearing blue or by wearing a blue feather in your hat while working outside. You might look funny, but if it keeps you from being bitten, it is worth it. For the reasons stated above, and because deer flies are known to transmit more diseases than horse flies, I believe that deer fly has the worst bite. Thank you for watching our debate.